Ah, good evening, and welcome to the Piper's Table. Sit down and enjoy a nightcap with me, if you will. So, I haven't been pumping out as many videos over the last 2 weeks as I previously was. Um, some of you might have noticed that, some of you, whatever, maybe didn't. But last Sunday, I ended up pretty sick. Um, I think I had food poisoning. It was rugged. It was one of the worst sicks I've ever been. And the only thing that I ate that nobody else did was those damn boba balls. Those like little tapioca balls and like bubble tea and toppings on ice cream and whatever. But yeah, I ate some of those, and man, just sicker than about I've ever been. And fever and everything. And actually, in one of my fever dreams, I had a dream that these boba balls were like piled up in my stomach, just seeping out like wicked poison. Um, which, whatever, could just be a fever dream, but it made me go down a rabbit hole. And apparently, it's pretty common that people report nausea of different levels of severity and sickness after consuming um, large quantities of them, which I certainly did. So, who knew? Apparently, you got to watch out for that stuff. But needless to say, I really didn't get to enjoy too much smoking over the last week. And it was also, I didn't eat anything. I didn't consume any food between like Sunday around 5 or 6 p.m. until sometime in the day Wednesday. So I was on this like forced multi-day fast, which was actually kind of psychedelic, and it was this weird experience because for as ill as I felt, I also felt somehow better when I came out of it. It was interesting. The last day of my recovery, I did some bike riding. I got a new gravel bike and I took that out and I rode it just about as hard as I could into the wind. And I played drums furiously for at least 30, 40 minutes, which you metal heads out there know that playing drums like that is basically like uh, high intensity interval training. So that was interesting to do after not eating for several days. But it kind of sent me into this, I don't know, I guess I'm like embarking into some uncharted territories as far as myself and what I'm doing and how I'm doing things. So it's been pretty interesting. Um, and I'm, after being so sick from eating, I'm really, really paying attention to the things I eat, which I normally do, but like extra attention. I'm being very discerning about what I eat and when I eat. And anyways, long story short, um, I didn't get to smoke a whole lot. I had to take a break from everything. I didn't even have coffee for several days. Um, but I got home and I had a package, and I knew what was in it, but I didn't exactly know what to expect because I ordered another estate pipe. So what I ended up with, I got um, a vintage Kaywoodie pipe, which many of you will know. It actually seems kind of like the Kaywoodie pipes in the like golden era, drugstore pipes are sort of making a comeback. Um, and I have an old yellow bull pipe from around like 1929 to 1933, around in there, and that's a KB&B manufactured pipe. But I wanted to get a Kaywoodie too, and the seller of this didn't have much information, just said Kaywoodie estate pipe. So it was cheap. It was like $30 shipped to my door. So I pulled the trigger on it, and this is what I ended up with. So I'm not going to pretend that I have this like vast historic knowledge of the Kaywoodie pipes, although damn, they must have a cult following because when I started researching this online, I found a shit ton of information. Like it was almost too much. Um, it was like I might as well have sat down to read a book. But what I was able to determine is that this one is American made, and it said that the more quality ones got the elongated emblem in the white circle. So that's pretty cool. And this is, I mean, you probably can't see it. You might be able to see a little bit. Anyways, it says Kaywoodie right there, and then it has a number 68. So what I was able to determine through reading is, first of all, this is the 68 model is was produced between 1955 and 1968. So this could be from any of those years, and it's made in America. Um, and this one is the small apple half bent, which I've always wanted like a style of pipe like this, just this like squat little bent apple. I think these things are so stylish, and it's almost got that. There's no line, but I don't know if you can see the taper is almost a bulldog. It's like right in between a squat bulldog and a small apple, but it's just a tiny little bull. I can't really even fit my pinky in there. It had a hell of a cake in it. I scraped some of it out, but I'm gonna leave most of it in. And it just had that classic, I don't know, the classic grandpa's pipe smell. It smelled like Virginia tobaccos and leather and ash. And I'm gonna guess that whoever smoked out of this pipe was probably, a half and half or a Carter Hall kind of guy, because that's kind of what it smelled like to me. But I cleaned it up. I haven't polished it up or anything, but I cleaned it up a little bit. Super cool, super stylish little pipe. I'm really happy with this thing. For Yeah, it was like $21 and whatever the shipping. The band polished up really nice. It's in really good shape. Um, I think this is called like the drinkless filter or something like that. This little permanent filter. Um, I got all this stuff cleaned up. It's still a little moist, I guess. Better run another pipe cleaner through this. Hold on, I'm gonna pause this for a second. All right. So, anyways, yeah, just in really good shape. This pipe was definitely smoked and well loved, but very well cared for. And I mean, like the threads are perfect. It just right in locks. So yeah, my first vintage Kaywoodie pipe. So I'm pretty excited about that. Um, and then tonight I'm actually drinking some skull cap and rose tea. Now, um, the only thing that's a special occasion about right now is that number one, I'm having a hard time going to sleep, and number two, I haven't smoked in like whatever, almost a week. Number three, I got a Kaywoodie pipe. So that seems special enough to me to break out something very special. Um, Now, this right here is the Tabac Manil Semois Réserve du Patron. Um, I'm not going to pretend that I can pronounce these words properly or whatever. I'm going to say them in hillbilly English. But, anyways, This is a really fantastic and just interesting tobacco. It's a pure burley from the type of the burley is a Semois, and it's from the Ardennes area of Belgium, and it is produced single-handedly from seed to finished product by Vincent Manil himself. He does it in 100% traditional way, and this variety of burley is it's something that has been enjoyed in Europe for well over 100 years. This is like a really classic, celebrated European style right here. Now, this one I have been aging since 2020, and this was brought back to me from Belgium by my friend Cameron when he was living over in Budapest. But yeah, he brought this back. I had never heard of it until he brought it back for me, um, and it kind of blew my mind when he told me it was a pure burley. I was kind of like, I mean, sure, burleys make blends really good, but uh, just smoking one just straight by itself seemed like it might be kind of a lackluster, or just you might get a little bit of nutty sweetness, and that was about it. But let me tell you, this tobacco will blow your mind. Now, if you follow along with Gary or Olden in the Way, which I know a lot of you on here do, because a lot of you are probably watching my videos because he sent you. He had the pure Semois, and really the only difference between what he was smoking and did a review on, which you should check out if you haven't watched that yet, because he does a great job of kind of explaining and going over what this tobacco is, and his personal opinions of it. But like the only difference, really, from that tobacco, from the pure Semois to the Réserve du Patron, is the cut. And this is like a medium cut, so it's a little bit of a finer cut. You pack it a little bit tighter. Now, this tobacco is really dry. I mean, it feels almost like stale cigarette, like some Bali shag stuff or whatever that you've got that's a little bit stale. But it's supposed to be that way. It's very dry. Um, it feels kind of like the whatever, like the shredded little papers that they pack things in instead of using the styrofoam packing peanuts. I mean, it feels like that exactly. It's crunchy. It's really dry. It's got larger chunks in there. Um, you can see that maybe a little bit, but um, it's amazing how much the cut can affect the quality of the smoke and what flavors you can get out of the same tobacco. Now, when you smell this, the tin note, it's pretty much like being in a hay barn. Um, it's like dried hay, like in the middle of summer when all the bales are stacked up in the loft, and you got a little bit of that old barn smell, a little bit of that kind of like dank, dusty smell that is always in a barn that's had years and years of hay going into it. And you can smell that really just like earthy grassiness of hay. I mean, when I say hay, it's like literally in every sense of the sensations of smelling hay while standing in a dry hayloft full of it. And then you get a very, very faint kind of sweet note, which, um, you know, grass when it's dried still has a pretty good sugar content, especially certain types of like alfalfa and clover and things like that, um, which you need to give your cattle or sheep or goats. They need those sugars that are dried and preserved in the grass so that they can still keep a good butterfat content in their milk throughout the winter months. And so, like, just like I'm really kind of beating a dead horse here, but hay, it smells like hay, which also, to me, smells like a really mild, like Connecticut broadleaf, natural kind of like wrapped cigar. It's a very similar thing. A lot of people say this is like smoking a cigar but in a pipe. So that's how it hits on the nose, in my opinion, anyways. Um, so I've only smoked this once since 2020. So let's do it. Let's load up this Kaywoodie and let's do it. And like I said, you want to pack this stuff pretty tight if you get it, and I recommend you get it because, um, Gary and I were going back and forth in some comments. It's epiphany have is the best way to describe smoking this Semois burley because it's just so damn interesting. It's unlike any tobacco you've ever had. It's like you would swear it's a blend because the flavors that come through are so wild, and there's so many of them for it being just a pure natural burley with no topping, nothing. It is what it is. It's Semois burley leaf. So don't be afraid to pack it tight. You want to put some pressure, but definitely check your airflow um, when you're packing it. And what I recommend for this certain style of tobacco is while you're drawing to make sure you can still get a good draw from it, pack it as tight pretty much as you can without affecting that ability. So I'm going to put even this a little bit more. And also, um, it's great. This stuff is great out of a really small bowl. Um, I'm going to try this just because this is, I think, now officially the smallest bowl that I have. And I'm just so excited to smoke out of it. Um, because this stuff will burn for a while. Even though you pack it really tightly, it'll burn for a while. Okay, I think I'm going to stop with mine right there. I think that's pretty good. And that's pretty tight. I mean, I can't press it in anymore. I'm using a pretty good deal of pressure right now. And you can hear I still have a really good, easy draw. And that's what you're looking for. That's packed in there really, really tightly. And I think that this will go nice with the rose tea. Because those of you who have been following along know that I was already taking a break from the alcoholic drinks, but after my experience last week, I am certainly taking a break. So tea for me. I haven't even drank much coffee this week, which is wild because I swear I'm like 2 liters of coffee a day. I don't even know if this pipe tamp will fit very well. Yeah, I guess it will. Now, of the three Tabac Manil um, offerings, this one is definitely the most robust. Um, so just know that the nick hit on this isn't really that severe. I would say that the nick hit on all of them is similar, and it's middle of the road. Um, so as far as nicotine goes, it's a pretty friendly tobacco for a new smoker. Um, but you gotta really enjoy like pure tobacco flavors, I think, um, to get into this if you're new. If you've been smoking pipes for a while, there's no reason not to try this. Even if you're strictly an aromatic guy, I would smoke this just for the experience because it's a really interesting tobacco. Now, um, people who describe it, and I'm included in it as a cigar, but in a pipe, are not far from the mark. It's very cigar esque. This is one you got to sit with for a minute. You want to get a good cadence on it because how tightly you have to pack it. Mm. It's just got such an insane uh, variety of like subtle flavor nuances going on that it just every time I smoke it, it blows my mind that it's just one type of tobacco leaf and it's just a burley. It's wild. So at first, like right off the bat from the first light, the first retro hail, it's spicy. It's I mean it's really spicy. It's got that like burnt leaf kind of quality where it's like a spiciness. There's a dryness. There's like a vegetalness. There's kind of a sweet note to it, but it's spicy. It's peppery. It's fiery. Um, and excuse me, like cigars, a lot of cigars have that really spicy, peppery note. Um, but it hits really mellow, which is interesting for how spicy it is right off the bat. The mouth feel itself is so mellow, even more mellow than like a really light Virginia Perique or a really light um, English that they've decided to include Perique on or something. It's a very just like crisp, very clean smoke. It leaves virtually like after you exhale, um, it's like it's just gone. There's none of that lingering smoke residue or spiciness or anything like that. Um, just a really subtle flavor left over, but it's almost like it cleanses your palate every time you breathe out, which I feel like is part of the quality of this tobacco that helps you. I mean, like why you experience so many different flavor nuances. I gotta relight it. There's so much cake in this pipe. My tamp only only goes to like the top part of it. But yeah, so anyways, so all the spiciness and the pepperiness, like I said, that like burning leaves in autumn, the smell of the burning leaves in autumn. It's like it's fragrant, it's floral, it's vegetal, it's earthy, but not it's not any of those qualities like a lot of Kia or something. It's very much its own thing. There's none of the incense type notes, but then it immediately after the first couple of puffs, it has this really smooth, buttery finish to it on the retrohale. Mm. You definitely there's like a roasty, like nut quality, which a lot of burleys are notorious for adding some kind of nut and roasted nut flavors. There's a slight tang that, like I'm tasting something right now. I don't even know how to describe, but it's very pleasant. It's a very enjoyable thing that this tobacco is doing right now. It's almost got this thing going on, if it even makes sense to say, like that flavor of like roasted pecans or roasted almonds, but without any of the sweetness. Just that like really good nutty flavor, but there's something a bit more confectionery about it. But it's not overly sweet at the same time. It's a really interesting tobacco that's just kind of hard to put to words. I mean, it's earthy, it's nutty, it's floral, it's vegetal, it's delightful. It's a really fun and enjoyable tobacco to smoke. So I could ramble on and on. I've already, you know, burned up like 28 minutes of your life here, and I don't want to ramble on too much. And I also want to just sit here and enjoy the rest of this without having to keep relighting it. And I keep forgetting about my tea, and it's probably getting cold. But there you have it. My vintage small apple half bent Kaywoodie, American made from between 1955 and 1968. So far, I'm very happy with it, and yeah, the Vincent Manil's Tabac Manil Semois Réserve du Patron. If you haven't tried any of these, I highly recommend it. And it's not very expensive. You can get it right now on smokingpipes.com. I believe has bricks of it for like $27, $28, something like that. So we'll call it around $30. You can get a 3.5 ounce brick, which seems steep when you say that, but you have to remember this is a very light, very, very dry um, tobacco. So, like a brick of it, I mean, a 3.5 ounce brick is like a pretty decent package. Um, your money on this will go a long way, and it's just such a unique tobacco. such a unique smoking experience. It's unlike anything else that I've ever had. Totally in a league of its own. And Vincent Manil, you can read more about him online. What an interesting cat, a true aristocat. Uh, yeah, what an awesome tobacco. I hope you try some. Anyways, thanks for hanging out for a little bit, and hopefully I'll get some more videos cranked out here for you guys soon because I got a lot of tobacco to try and I got a lot of things to talk about. Anyways, cheers.